Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're not easing into the material. We are plunging straight into a moment of just severe geopolitical tension.
Yeah, there's no other way to put it.
This feels like a defining moment where the mask of diplomacy has completely fallen away, revealing the brutal calculus underneath.
Absolutely.
We have a stack of sources here, articles, intel leaks, military analysis, and they all point to one thing: a radical new ultimatum from Moscow. A set of demands so absolute, it's sending shockwaves, not just through Kyiv, but every Western capital.
Right.
So our mission today for you is to decode the logic behind this threat. We need to understand the critical reality on the battlefield, which is focused on one city, Pokrovsk, and then analyze the geopolitical fissures this is all causing. It's threatening to rip the Western alliance apart.
And it's crucial to frame the scale of this. This is so much more than the latest frontline dispatch. What happens in the next few days could genuinely rewrite the future of European security for decades. This is history happening right now.
Right. Okay, let's unpack that. Let's start with the sheer audacity of the diplomatic move itself. This crisis was triggered when Vladimir Putin laid out his central, non-negotiable condition for a ceasefire. It just defies conventional logic.
It does. The demand is absolute, and this is the critical point. Moscow is saying the guns will only go silent if Ukraine withdraws its forces immediately from the entirety of the regions Russia now claims as its own.
These are the territories they annexed on paper, right?
Yeah.
After those referendums, the world rejected.
Exactly. But here's the detail that changes everything.
Because most people might hear that and think, okay, they're just asking to freeze the front line where it is. But that's not it, is it?
No, not at all. If it were just freezing the lines, that would be a painful concession. But it's a negotiation.
Yeah.
This is different. Russia is demanding Kyiv voluntarily abandon huge swaths of land that Russian soldiers have not yet touched.
Land that Ukrainian soldiers are actively defending right now.
Yes. We're talking about thousands of square miles that are currently under Kyiv's control.
So we're not talking about accepting the reality of occupation. We're talking about giving up land that hasn't even been conquered. This is what political scientists call coercive diplomacy, right?
That's a perfect way to put it. It's an explicit demand that Kyiv must do the invading army's job for them. They're demanding Ukraine voluntarily mutilate its own sovereignty. To accept that isn't a negotiation.
It's just surrender.
It's an unconditional surrender of territory.
And what does a demand like that signal? I mean, what does it tell us about Russia's broader goals here?
It's a signal of, I'd say, confidence mixed with a kind of profound strategic impatience. They are demanding that international law be thrown out the window. If this is accepted, it sets a terrifying global precedent.
Which is?
That an aggressor doesn't actually need to win on the battlefield. They just need to threaten enough violence to force the victim to sign their own defeat. It says aggression pays. Conquest is profitable.
And before we get to the military side, we should quickly talk about the territory itself, the Donbass. This isn't just about some lines on a map. For anyone listening, why is this region such an irreplaceable prize?
That's a crucial pause. The Donbass. You have to understand, it's not just farmland. It's Ukraine's industrial heartland. It's rich in coal, key minerals. It's densely populated. It has huge economic and symbolic value.
It's the engine room.
It is the engine room of the country. To lose it isn't just a territorial loss. It cripples Ukraine's long-term economic viability. That's why the fight is so fierce.
Okay, that context is vital. So while the diplomats are maneuvering, the real verdict is being written in blood and mud. Let's shift to the battlefield, because the timing of these demands is no accident. It's calculated. It's coinciding with intense military pressure around one city, Pokrovsk.
Pokrovsk.
Let's mark that name. Why does this relatively small city hold such huge importance?
Pokrovsk is, and I don't think this is an exaggeration, the logistical heartbeat of the entire Ukrainian defense in the east. It's the primary road and rail junction that keeps their army supplied.
So all the ammo, the fuel, the troops, it all flows through there.
Everything. Military strategists are clear on this. If you control Pokrovsk, you control the gateway to the Donbass. Its fate dictates the fate of every Ukrainian unit on that eastern line.
So what's the situation on the ground right now? What are Russian forces actually doing?
They're focused on a suffocating maneuver.
Yeah.
The goal appears to be encirclement. Reports indicate these pincer movements from multiple directions, and while Kyiv says they're holding, the situation is clearly critical. The pressure is immense.
So less of a head-on assault and more strangulation.
Exactly. Force a collapse through strangulation.
And if that strangulation works, what's the domino effect if Pokrovsk falls?
The consequences would be devastating. And immediate. It would sever the main supply arteries instantly. Just think about it. Without Pokrovsk, the Ukrainian units further east are isolated. They can't get ammo, fuel, medical supplies.
They'd be trapped.
It creates a catastrophic military situation, a mass collapse. It would effectively hand the keys to the entire eastern region over to Russia.
And that connects the battlefield directly to the ultimatum.
Perfectly.
The military pressure is designed to make the diplomatic demand feel inescapable.
That is the calculation in its purest, most ruthless form. Russia is saying, we know you can't hold Pokrovsk forever under this pressure, so you have a choice.
Withdraw now and save your army, but give us the land.
Or risk having that army completely crushed in a cauldron. It's a coercive use of leverage, plain and simple.
Which brings us to Kyiv's agonizing position. This choice has been described as an amputation, not a strategy. Why is refusing this ultimatum, even with the enormous risk at Pokrovsk, the only path they feel they can take?
Because accepting it means staring down what I'd call a five-bladed dilemma, all of them pressed against the nation's throat at the same time.
A choice between pain now or guaranteed national death later.
That's it.
Okay, so lay out those 5 blades for us. What's the first one?
First is sovereignty. If you sign a document agreeing to abandon these regions, you are implicitly recognizing the land as Russian. It is a permanent legal surrender of title deeds. It mutilates your own country's map.
That's fundamental, but what about the people living there?
Blade number 2, the human cost. You'd be abandoning millions of your own citizens to indefinite occupation. That's a moral and ethical betrayal that no government could justify. It creates a wound that never heals.
Okay, let's talk military reality. Let's say they pull back from Pokrovsk to save the army. What's the strategic downside to that?
That's the third blade, strategic reality. Surrendering Pokrovsk doesn't just mean losing a city. It means the entire defensive line that hinges on it is destroyed.
It's not a retreat to a better position.
No, it opens a direct highway for Russian forces deeper into the country. It's military suicide, guaranteeing you'll lose even more later on.
And what about their allies? Their support from the West?
Blade number 4, international support. Western aid is based on Ukraine showing resolve. If Ukraine folds and yields land like this, it risks shattering Western resolve entirely. Why would America and Europe keep pouring billions into a defense that appears to be collapsing?
It could turn off the tap of aid.
Forever. And finally, the fifth blade.
The firestorm at home.
Exactly, the internal firestorm. Think about the sacrifices. Thousands of soldiers have died holding this very ground. If the government just hands it over, the public backlash would be catastrophic. It could tear the country apart from the inside.
So when you lay it out like that, the calculus becomes clear. Fighting on, as bloody as it is the only path that leaves a chance for a future. Withdrawing guarantees total loss.
Precisely. They're betting that if they can just hold the line, they maintain their claim and force the West to keep supporting them.
Okay, let's shift focus to the diplomatic conflict happening in the shadows, because this stress test has opened up a really significant crack in the Western alliance. And this is where it gets interesting, because leaks revealed a draft 28-point peace plan that came from the United States.
Right.
What was in that document that caused so much alarm in Europe?
Well, this draft framework, it basically caused a panic.
Yes.
It looked like Washington was actively looking for an exit ramp. The document reportedly hinted that Ukraine must accept significant permanent territorial loss.
So give up land for good.
Yes. And place firm caps on the size of its future military so it could never fully defend itself, and, most critically, formally shut the door on any future NATO membership.
So to many observers, this didn't sound like a peace treaty. It sounded like a managed capitulation.
That's the exact phrase that was used. The fear was that the U.S. was drafting a document to just end the conflict now, even if it cripples Ukraine's independence long term. It looked like an attempt to reward aggression for short-term stability.
And this exposed that widening crack in the West's armor. What was the reaction from places like London, Paris, Berlin?
Europe was reportedly furious. For them, a proposal like this is a complete non-starter. They argue that forcing Ukraine into a peace that cripples its sovereignty isn't a solution.
It just kicks the can down the road.
It guarantees a bigger war 5 or 10 years from now. They see the American draft as strategically naive.
And for them, it's an existential threat in a way it isn't for Washington.
That's the absolute core of it. The European view is that if you validate conquest with a treaty, you shatter the entire post-World War II security architecture, the agreement that you can't change borders by force.
And they start asking, Who's next?
Exactly. Today it's the Donbass. Tomorrow could it be the Baltics? Or Poland? Europe is demanding a counterproposal that guarantees borders and refuses to reward aggression.
We're so focused on the immediate battles, but there's a fundamental question here almost no one is addressing. What is the true value of a signature on a piece of paper in this context?
That is the massive strategic blind spot, and we have to pause on it. History is just screaming a warning here. Think about the Budapest Memorandum in 1994. Ukraine gives up its nuclear arsenal.
In exchange for security guarantees. From Russia, among others.
And that agreement was shredded. Then you have the Minsk agreements meant to bring peace to the Donbass. They failed because they were treated by the aggressor as a tactical pause, not a real resolution.
So based on that record, the idea that a ceasefire automatically leads to peace is?
It's dangerously flawed in this context. A ceasefire on Moscow's current terms is not peace.
So what is it?
It's a pause button. It is a strategic timeout. It would allow an aggressor who is bleeding men and material to rest, repair, and rearm. Signing a treaty like this would just be scheduling the next larger invasion for a later date. It's a rearmament schedule disguised as diplomacy.
And this brings us to the tipping point, the terrifying realization that this is about so much more than Eastern Europe.
That's precisely right. If the world validates this kind of forced territorial trade, we are setting the most dangerous precedent since 1945. We are sending a devastating message to every authoritarian power out there.
And that message is?
You can invade your neighbor, and the world will not only let you keep what you stole, but they will force your victim to sign a treaty that makes it legitimate.
Which instantly impacts the calculations for places like Taiwan.
Absolutely. The Middle East. The sovereignty of every small nation on the globe. If force becomes a valid tool to redraw maps here, the floodgates open everywhere. It ushers in a new, chaotic world order where security is just a privilege of your size, not a right under law.
So, to summarize the core conflict, Russia is leveraging its military momentum, especially around Pokrovsk, to get a quick, devastating political win. This demand for land they don't even hold might be confidence, or it could be a hidden anxiety to lock in gains before the cost gets too high.
And Ukraine, in response, is standing on the principle that a nation cannot be carved up at gunpoint. Their refusal to yield is not stubbornness. It's a cold, hard understanding that a peace built on capitulation isn't peace at all.
It's vital to distinguish between a compromise, which involves mutual concession, and just surrender.
Indisputably. A compromise is where both sides take some pain but get a viable future. What's on the table today is not a compromise, it's a demand for national suicide. And you cannot build lasting stability on a foundation of theft.
This war, and the response to this ultimatum, has truly become the final exam for the global security framework. It forces all of us, the observers, to consider the immense choice facing world leaders.
We face a stark, defining choice. And this is what we have to leave you, the listener, pondering. Do we prioritize an immediate fragile peace based on capitulation, a peace that rewards aggression and therefore guarantees a future larger conflict? Or do we insist on the prolonged, painful struggle for justice, hoping to secure lasting global stability? Will the 21st century be defined by the failure of international law or by the courage to enforce it, no matter the immediate cost?